social media and live on our show. And you can be a part of the show too. So listen, just scan the QR code right there on the bottom right of the screen and you can talk to us live on the air. Don't be scared. Jump in the water. Come on in. Our first guest tonight has been picking up a following with some blunt talk about men and women, including this recent post about so-called absent fathers.
That man ain't no part-time daddy. You just a full-time problem. Every time you come around, it's a problem. Every time he show up, it's an argument. Every time he tries to do something for the kids or with the kids, it's confrontation. God, let the man be a daddy and live. Oh.
Joining us live now from New Orleans is Sherrie, a life and business coach. Welcome back to the show, Sherrie.
Hi.
Hey, y'all. Hey, Don. How successful? How are you tonight?
Good. How are you?
Absolutely.
I'm doing well.
Listen, black men have been losing the propaganda war when it comes to not being there for their kids. I appreciate women like you standing up and defending them.
Yes.
Because it takes women to stand up and defend them. Because if, we kind of do it, it's like, well, you just don't want to pay child support. There's a whole narrative that is out there.
Absolutely.
So you're saying that women sometimes unintentionally block a father's presence, whether or not he lives with his kids, right?
Yes, they do. Oftentimes we see, the narrative is painted, especially in the Black community, that fathers are absent. And as I became an adult and I started to coach and have deeper conversations with my peers and couples and just fathers in general, I learned that sometimes us women, we make it very difficult for them to show up in the midst of, it has a lot to do with control, ego sometimes, pride, unhealed trauma, and so much more. So I think that it's very important for us to sometimes advocate for them and make sure that they know that we see them when they're trying.
Well,
I love that you're able to do that because a lot of men do feel that they are unheard, especially the ones that are trying, actively, but they have a tumultuous relationship with the mother of their children. But what kind of backlash? Because I know you received a lot of backlash from that video. Can you please talk to us
I
about
am
that?
the pick-me of all pick-me.
the pick me. Wait, why are you the pick me? Like, what is that about?
Well, that's women have a hard time taking accountability, especially when it comes from other women. And for that, when we speak out against some of our lack and some of our, craziness that we tend to have, or our delulu thoughts and processes, women they don't want to hear that from me, or from us in general. And they're like, no, you just want to be a pick me. You're just trying to get picked by a man. And I'm like, no, these are hard truths that we need to face. And sometimes it takes for someone to know it. And it doesn't always show up in co-parenting relationships. I remember when I became a mother in my previous marriage, we were living together, we were together, everything was fine. And I just had this natural instinct to do things my way. And I made it very difficult for my husband at the time to show up and father in his own way. And oftentimes we don't even hear that narrative. So the backlash was real, honey, but the message is even realer. And we're going to make sure that it get out and we can get some healing in our community.
I appreciate you for recognizing that sometimes you have to create space for the father to exist in the relationship, because there is this thing where you have expectations on what a man or is supposed to be, how he's supposed to act, how he's supposed to father in your mind. And he is just trying to do the best that he possibly can be, given the circumstances and the knowledge that he has at whatever given time he has.
Absolutely.
How control, fear, and resentment can interfere with a healthy co-parenting? Did you experience that? Did you have any of that at a younger age?
I'm gonna be honest. In the beginning, not for me. Control was there when me and my ex-husband first separated. Not because
why was the control there? Why did you have control? Was it because you took
operating in the
ownership of the
space.
child?
No, it had nothing to do with ownership of the child. When you are typically the primary caregiver,
Yeah.
you just have a way of doing things.
Gotcha.
You know all of the doctor's appointments, you know all of the information, you know everything. And sometimes in that space of that transition, I didn't make that information easily accessible for him. Well, I'm not going to say I didn't make it easily accessible. I didn't just naturally give it to him, right? So with having all of this information and he's trying to show up, it's like, I know it. So it's easier for me to do it. It's almost like I have to teach you how to do the things. And in reality, no, I don't have to teach you. You have your own way. You can make your own doctor's appointments. You can show up. You can cook your own meals. And one thing I've learned, children are very good and very resilient. They're very good at adjusting. They show up in my house one way and they show up in dad's house another way, and it's totally fine. So when I realized that, okay, Brittany, you're kind of stepping into this and you want him to show up in the way that you mother, and the
Mm-hmm.
way that he father is totally different. You have to be okay with that. And one thing, Don, and successful, that I learned, when I learned to get rid of that control, my life was at so much more peace.
Mm-hmm.
Well, because you didn't
Those,
you
Because
I
you
was
had a
like, those kids are
partner.
with their dad, girl. Don't
Mm-hmm.
call me. Don't ask me about anything. It kind of helped me to show up in a space where I was able to focus more on myself.
yeah, because you got
Um,
somebody taking some of the load off of you, and
Mm-hmm.
you can let go of a
yes,
lot of this control and a lot of this energy and a lot of this labor that you've been holding
Right.
on to.
Exactly. But it leads
absolutely.
me to my next question though. For some women who's going through this situation, how do they know when the man is actually showing up and is not actually presenting themselves as being toxic or trying to be controlling? So what are the signs
So
that you look for?
So honestly, actions speak louder than words or energy. We have an intuition with us as women, so we kind of know the difference. I think when a man is trying, you just have to let him. And sometimes we won't know. Sometimes we just won't have those answers. I think always advocating for the children, always taking the kids' best interests at heart. Sometimes we're looking for monetary support only,
Mm-hmm.
and we fail to realize the importance that there are so many other ways that dad can show up.
Mm-hmm.
Time is extremely
Mm-hmm.
important. So many women are like, oh, he's an absent father. He's not doing this. And that man is like, I'm trying to get my kids. I may not have all of the resources to give you, but I can give them time. I can give them knowledge. And it took for me to have conversations with um, my children's father to learn that when he spoke to his dad, when he became an adult, some of my peers, when they speak to their dads as adult, and these men actually learn that dad wasn't absent, he wasn't not showing up. Mom or grandma made it extremely difficult
Mm-hmm.
to show up. They had their own expectations. They wanted things to be done the way they wanted to be done. And in those moments, that man just was giving all that he had. And then they learned that as an adult, and it's like, oh my God, I was painted this picture, this narrative was painted about you. And that was far from the truth. So I
Yeah,
think we just have to give them grace to try and know that we're not God. And we will kind of never really know if they're giving 100%, but allow them to show up. It's when they become absent and they start to do things differently, when they start to retract, then you're like, okay, things are totally different here.
yeah. I think some men may feel like they just give up because they can't win at all, and they feel like they're just a paycheck, and like that's what do they do? They're
Most
gonna
most women will say, Don, you didn't fight. You didn't fight hard enough. And majority of the men are like, why do I even have to fight at all?
yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, that you get thrown into a system where you kind of get criminalized for being a parent, which is kind of a sad
Mhm.
situation. And it's like, I just want to take care of my child. But I really appreciate you for shedding light on a whole nother system.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question. When did you recognize that you were being a certain way? When did the light go off in your mind where you were like, I need to stop this?
When I
And
found myself complaining more about not having help in the way that I wanted, and then one day, honestly, you go through the process of burnout as a woman. It's
Mm-hmm.
like you're doing all these things, and then I got to the place where I was like, you know what? Let it be. If he decides to show up and get them every other weekend, I'm going to be satisfied with every other weekend. And then when I started to notice that the less that I showed up in that way, the more he was willing to show up in his way, it was like the
Mm.
bitterness was gone, the resentment was gone. He wasn't being combative with me.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Ooh, okay."
Ah.
So now we're at a place where we really co-parent in a great way. Are things absolutely perfect? No, it's still very fresh. There's room for growth there. My son is 11. Just at the beginning of the year, one of the most challenging things I had to do was let him live with his father, but it's time. It is time for him to be raised by a man. I trust his father with him. I trust his judgment.
Hmm.
And so now it's at a place where it really feels like that 50-50 balance. I
Mhm.
have my daughter, he has my son. We're both equally responsible. It's really funny that sometimes we're showing up to school and we're picking up kids, and they're like, well, why didn't you do? Everyone has their own responsibility. No one is imposing on each other, and it's a really great place for us right now. And I think by me not really utilizing the system as much, I'm not saying that women shouldn't seek child support. I'm not saying that if you have an absent father and he's not there, but if you're able to be amicable and do this without the system, things can go a lot smoother.
Yeah, I mean, well,
um
every parent has a responsibility to provide
Right.
financial,
Both
emotional
parents. Hmm.
support
Absolutely.
for their children. Let me ask you a question. When you're talking about you and the husband, how are the kids reacting to this new co-parenting situation where you kind of stepping back and you guys are getting along and things are getting along more smoother? How are they noticing the relationship between you and dad?
They are so used to it now. It's like what we do at dad's house is dad house. What we do at mom's house is mom house. I see that they're not experiencing as much pain or trying to decide how do I show up with mom and how do I show up. They're less confused.
Right.
Our kids are also at a space now that dad has a girlfriend. We love dad's girlfriend. I
Wow.
love dad's girlfriend. They're now open to me dating. I don't know. It's something about kids and mom and dating that's just like,
Yeah.
Well, they want to
but
see you happy.
yeah, they do. And also they're at a space that it's just like they understand that they have two homes now.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? And to see my kids happier,
yeah,
to see my kids not in this turmoil and feeling like they have to choose, that brings me
yeah,
so much peace and clarity.
yeah.
So I
Well,
wouldn't recommend it any other
Yeah, I'm
way.
sure they're feeding off your energy because you
yeah.
seem like you're in a really great place.
Oh,
So
for
I'm just
sure.
so
For
glad
Yeah.
other
sure.
women can see how you're able to grow.
B. Sherrie,
Yeah.
we got to let you go. I do want to say one thing before I let you go. Maybe you can put this in the cards for the future. Maybe a family dinner with everybody's together. I think that would be beautiful for everybody involved. Where can they find you online if they want to follow you and maybe hear more about the story and reach out to you to say you're not a pick me and you're great?
Yes, guys, you can find me on all platforms at I am B Cherie. Once again, I am a life, business, and relationship coach. I love to create fun, engaging content around healing in our Black community. So let's do this. Let's get lit and lifted. I'll see you guys later.
Thank you. A
Thank
friend of the show,
you.
B. Sherrie, thank you again for shedding light on the father's role. Man, I love that. I love that energy.
Yeah, very
For the mother's
healthy.
perspective, here's poster Single Mom House.